The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill. A breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help. Just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The human voice. It can be sweet as music, powerful as thunder,
and so, my fellow Americans,
cheerful as laughter. But for millions of people, it can also be a sign of COPD. This serious lung disease can make it so hard to breathe, you often can't catch a breath or finish a sentence, let alone carry a tune. And many who have COPD don't even know it. That's where your voice comes in. If you think you or a loved one have symptoms, talk with a healthcare provider. Early diagnosis can mean better treatments and quality of life. Join us in raising our voices for the millions with COPD who can't. Learn more, breathe better at NIH.gov.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
It's a huge burden lifted financially, and so it allows you to give singular focus to your child. I've never known a hospital that takes care of their patients so thoroughly.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow, they pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge. And good Monday morning to you, one and all. Yes, indeed, we are here back on this Monday, August number 28, in the year of our Lord 2017, the last week, basically, of August and summer. Lots more kiddies going back to school today, and the full complement of the entire US of A, unless you're probably somewhere down in flood-ravaged parts of Texas, will be back in school a week from tomorrow. Or is it Wednesday? I don't know. Next week is it. This is absolutely it for a good number of us here. Last week of summer. September begins on Friday, believe it or not. 603-835-3226 is the calling number. Should you wish to join me here live, I'm sitting here looking at some of the stuff that is happening down in Houston, and we will get to the Houston stuff, some surprising stuff about Houston, although some of it, I guess, to some people it's surprising. To me, it's not. What is surprising is, to a lot of people, I guess, is the Mayweather-McGregor fight. No, I did not watch it, but it was a 10-round bout, TKO, Mayweather coming out on top. And look, I mean, I've said when things are all being equal, and they weren't equal, McGregor was at a disadvantage, because half his fighting technique was taken out. And he had to put on, apparently, I mean, these were real, full boxing gloves, I guess. I don't really watch MMA, but those gloves look a little bit, were they, heftier than their normal gloves? Because he couldn't grapple. He couldn't take Mayweather down. So that was if he couldn't. Yeah, now I understand that MMA. I've seen a few matches, and they usually don't last more than 3 rounds. So if you can't take your opponent out early, I mean, that's the whole purpose of mixed martial arts, is to devastate your opponent as quickly as possible. But it's also, Now, I know that there are fans of this show that are fans of MMA, but one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of it is because it gets to a point very quickly where it gets boring. There's not a lot of fight. It's just like a lot of wrestling. And they call it grappling. I get it. And just getting somebody in a hold. A certain kind of hold where they give up or something, or they tap out. That's not fun for me to watch, actually. Not a lot of action. Now I understand that there can be action in this stuff, but that is what McGregor is used to. Taking somebody, a quick flurry of kicks and strikes and twists and turns and punches, and then finally down, on the floor, and that's it. And then it just becomes who's the better wrestler. Seriously, that's what I think about MMA. That's what it has devolved to in my book. Now, I remember back, it didn't used to be called MMA. There's, the Krav Maga and, the Philippine fighting, Tui, what's it called? I can't remember the name of it. But, I almost said Mai Tai, but that's a drink. But you know what I'm talking about. They've made movies about some of those types of martial arts competitions. They were underground for a while. They were, they weren't sanctioned or legal or anything like that. But people did, pretty much like these fight clubs here in the United States. Underground, not legal. Many of them. But this is so you got Mayweather, who comes out on top in the 10th round because that's his style of boxing or a style of fighting. He can go long rounds because that's what they train for. They don't train for the quick knockout, the quick grapple. I'm actually surprised that McGregor went 10 rounds. Tell you the truth, that's a long time. That's not what he really trains for. It's kind of unfair to try to bring these two types of fighting styles together. Muay Thai, that's what it is the Philippine thing. If you really wanted to bring two different styles of fighting together, that's a little bit more fair. Is you have the Muay Thai and MMA. Now, the Muay Thai is brutal. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's brutal. I've seen it. These guys actually train. They actually ironize their legs to do some of this, in order to do some of the movements that they do. They use all parts of their body. Where I understand MMA, they do have some sort of rules. You can't use certain parts, I suppose, but Muay Thai doesn't worry about grappling and putting people in chokeholds. They just knock you out. Or break something, break a bone. That's what they do. That's the underground fighting in Muay Thai. It really is. But that is more like MMA. Your standard boxing is not. Mayweather type boxing is not like, it's really, if you're used to using your whole body and being able to take somebody down on the mat and pummel them, and all of a sudden now you can't do that and you can't use half of your body, then I would think you're at a disadvantage. Because that's how you've trained. And I think if it's just the opposite, obviously. There's no way that Floyd Mayweather could have ever used his whole body. That's definitely not how. It takes years to train for this stuff, and that's not how he was trained. So it's two different. Well, it was all hype, I think I don't know what the bets were, what the odds were on this one. Was Mayweather expected to win? I would think that if it went past 3 rounds, the favor would be Mayweather. If it was, I think the first 3 rounds, I would think the first 3 to 5 rounds, the favoritism would have gone towards McGregor. After that, favoritism definitely goes towards Mayweather. Because, again, that's what, Mayweather trains for, a full round, full boxing match. They go the whole distance. MMA, what is this? Is 3 to 5 rounds? 3 rounds? I don't know. I mean, that's the max. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to be able to go more than 3 rounds. There's a lot more stamina involved. Now, I'm not saying that McGregor was not in great peak physical condition. I mean, just look at the guy. He is. But it's not the same. An elite... Well, I mean, let's take for an example, a long-distance runner and a sprinter, both elite athletes, highly conditioned for their sports. A sprinter is not going to easily become a marathoner. They're not conditioned that way for the long haul. They're conditioned for the short haul. And vice versa. A long-distance runner really isn't going to have the speed, the short burst of speed, although they can sprint, but they're not going to be like a regular sprinter because they're not conditioned and trained for the short haul, for the short distance, for the burst of speed. They're long haul, long distance. Look, I've ran both in track when I was in 8th grade. I was a sprinter and then transferred. It took 2 weeks to transfer me into a long distance runner. It's a different type of running. It really is. So it takes some doing. The training is different. Now, it's just the way it is. Your body's conditioned differently. But, some people don't think that that's the case. But in any case. So Mayweather comes out on top. I guess he's getting a ridiculous amount of money for this. In fact, there's some people are saying, Mayweather could very well join the billionaire club after this fight. There you go. I'm not going to really get much more into that. I mean, I've said what I needed to say. That's it. Mayweather is, I don't know, what kind of champion are they calling him? The ultimate champion, fighting champion? I don't know. But anyway, listening to some of the stories or reading some of the stories, you get them down here that says Floyd Mayweather withstood an impressive early flurry from Conor McGregor to convincingly win Saturday night's money fight at the T-Mobile Arena with a 10th round TKO, technical knockout. Mayweather, the former top-ranked pound-for-pounder in boxing, experienced a few difficulties in the opening rounds against McGregor, like I said he would, who was moving over from his position as the biggest star in the Ultimate Fighting Championship and making his debut inside the ring. However, in round 10, with McGregor having visibly started to tire minutes earlier, Mayweather delivered a telling combination that ended the fight. Well, that is what it is. Just wasn't a lot of. He didn't have the stamina that Floyd Mayweather has, simply because that's not how he trains. MMA is for sprinters. Boxing is for long distance marathon runners. And to take Conor McGregor and all of a sudden trying to turn him into in a short period of time, a long distance runner, marathon runner, it didn't work out very well. But again, I don't watch a lot of MMA. I don't. I know that there are people that are really into it. I understand why, but what I would like to see. I would probably watch an MMA battle champion battle a Muay Thai champion. I think that's a lot more similar than MMA and boxing. I think that might be a good bout, as it were. But this whole thing with trying to bring boxing and MMA and then taking half of McGregor's arsenal away from him, it just didn't seem right or fair. It's not the same kind of style of fighting. It's not. I'm just sorry, it's not. You take away half his. It's like telling the military, you can't use half of your weapons. You can't use airplanes, but you can use helicopters. I mean, you just wouldn't. It makes no sense to me. But somebody made an awful lot of money off of it, so good for them, I guess. In any case, we'll be back, and we'll get into the thing that happened down in Houston over the weekend. Good grief. You're listening to me, your lovable host, Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
And now a message from our sponsor. Ladies, tired of drying your hair with the same old vacuum cleaner? Try Avon Shade brand new Beauty Locks portable hair dryer. It's smaller, it's faster, it's guaranteed to give you the hair you've always wanted in half the time. Beauty Locks is delicate and dainty, just like you. The dryer weighs only a pound and easily fits in your hand. Now that's beauty and convenience. With a speedy motor that will dry your hair in as little as 25 minutes, you can get gorgeous hair without falling behind schedule. Don't worry about the little ones or that pie in the oven. Thanks to an extra-long extension cord, you can move around while primping your locks. Forget those long trips to the salon and no more waiting for hours under monster machines. Avon Shade gives you an easy and speedy hairdo that will blow your man away. Get it now at your nearest Macy's.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show. Let truth be told.
$603-835-3226. I don't think our politicians on both sides of the political aisle really learn from recent history at all. I don't think that they learn at all. It's as if history doesn't pay attention, or it doesn't happen. You would think that everything that went wrong and happened in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina would be, emblazoned on the memories and the heads of every local, city, and county and state politician since then? Well, evidently not. Although it's not nearly as bad as Katrina as far as the human toll, it still could have been avoided. But yet and still we had some people in Houston, like the mayor, I guess, not giving the order to evacuate the city. This is Houston, Texas. We don't evacuate down here, boy. We stand up to hurricanes. No, you don't. You get the hell out of Dodge. But, so they didn't do it. So a lot of people, I guess there was more rescuing that needed to be done than should have been done down in Houston, because evidently there was, I'm not going to say miscommunication. There was some fighting words going on where the governor of Texas was telling people to get out, and the mayor of the city of Houston was telling people to stay put. He's going to be all right. He's going to be fine. It's going to be safe. Well, it didn't turn out to be that way. And for the first time in a long time, the good old news underestimated the power of the hurricane. Believe it or not. Because they were all saying, oh, this is going to be a Category 3 hurricane. And evidently it eclipsed that and went to Category 4. But that's not what they were. That's not what they were. That the lamestream media was speculating, and for the first time in a long time, they downplayed the storm instead of upplaying it, like they normally do. So it was kind of a surprise. I don't know. Maybe they listened to my program and they got the word, because last week I was telling you how these people always overplay something and it fizzles, and then nobody listens. It gets to the point, like the boy crying wolf. Nobody listens. Oh, this is going to be a record nor'easter, and then you get like 2 inches. So people stop listening. And what happened is he probably had a politician, listening to the media saying, well, this is going to be Category 3. And he's probably thinking, that means it's, Cat 1. There's no reason to leave. Category 1, pish. That's nothing. It ends up being Category 4. Well, I mean, understand that they're going to use this now as saying, see, things are always going to be worse because of global man-made global warming and man-made global climate change. There was a program that I tried watching last night. We're going to hold off on the Game of Thrones thing. Saw that. That's can I just say, wow? And I'm holding off because I know that there are people that haven't had a chance to see it yet. And I don't want to be a spoiler. There are already lots of spoilers out there, and shame on people who do this, really. There's the hashtag and stuff, but don't pay attention to any of that stuff. Wait, if you're going to see it, you only got a week to see it, because after then, I'm sorry, people are just you're going to be inundated with this stuff, because it was that good. But in any case, so we'll talk about it later. Maybe on Friday we'll talk about Game of Thrones, the season finale. Only another year left. It's getting good, folks. I mean, it always has been good, but this is now a little bit of predictability in there, because you kind of knew that one of the if you didn't see last week's episode, too damn bad. Here's a spoiler. Spoiler alert. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was predictable in the sense that you knew something was going to happen. One of the dragons was going to be killed. Maybe some people thought, I didn't, that Cersei was going to get one. I knew that one of them was going to be killed, but I didn't think it was going to be done by the good old frozen Night King, especially the way he did it. And as soon as it happened, I said, "Oh, there it comes." And I thought, because I put out a tweet about this, about how do you kill, a dragon with fire that's immune to fire. But then I've forgotten. I'm a former Dungeons and Dragons player. The dragon wouldn't come back with fire. He'd come back with snow and frost. He's going to be a mighty frost dragon. So you've got fire and ice here that are going to be playing. Now, what does that mean? I think it's going to be an epic battle with the main dragon. You know, her favorite. Was it Drago? Drago, I think is the dragon's name. Her favorite dragon. The bigger one. And the frost. I think it's going to be an epic ending. But we'll have to see next year.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We've got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child eaten a tube of toothpaste, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Hillary Duff. As a mom, I'm proud to support the March of Dimes in helping more women have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. That's why I walk in March for Babies. The money we raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org. Together, we can help make healthier babies possible for thousands of families.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. Go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. We understand what makes this cancer tick. And of course, without donors from around the world, this just couldn't happen. There's one thing we're focused on, and that's beating this thing.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
America's wounded warriors are coming home. After serving on foreign shores, these brave men and women are returning to their families and communities. Many have wounds you can see, and many have wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Now that these warriors are back home, they are ready to enter the civilian workforce. To help, Wounded Warrior Project has developed the Warriors to Work program, a career counseling service that helps warriors translate their military experience to the civilian workplace. These extraordinary men and women bring proven world-class job skills and a unique perspective on teamwork to the job. And to ensure the right warrior finds the right job, Wounded Warrior Project works with employers to find just the right match. When you hire a wounded warrior, you hire an intelligent, talented, and committed new employee. Contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
$603-835-3226. Yeah, baby. Well, it's a good thing I'm not Barry White. I can't sound like him. Anybody remember Barry White? Yeah, he could say good morning and it sounds sexy even for guys. I mean, that's just Barry White was the man when it came to sexy soundingness. Any case, 603-835-3226. City and county officials are facing questions about why the evacuation order was not given. But based on history and expert opinion, some argue that the evacuation might not have helped and could have made things worse, as occurred during Hurricane Rita. Well, how about telling people to get out of Dodge, up to a week in advance? I mean, folks, this is why I keep telling you, you cannot listen to government on this kind of stuff. And look, I've got firsthand information about what was going on in Texas, as far away from the epicenter of the hurricane as Austin. Do you realize that people, when you run to the store, okay, it's one thing to get water, but to get a bunch of frozen pizza, stores were selling out of frozen pizza. Well, if your power goes out, unless you have a backup generator, those frozen pizzas are going to melt. And not only are they going to melt, but you're not going to have a way, unless you're going to cook them on your grill outside in the middle of the rainstorm, you're not going to be able to cook them. I suppose if you have a gas oven, but most people have electric ovens. You're not going to be able to cook them. You don't buy frozen stuff to sit through a storm like this, or to make it through a storm. No, you don't do that. Now, I've come to the conclusion that, generally speaking, this is generally speaking, this is why we have repeat. We keep getting the same politicians reelected over and over and over again. Generally speaking, when it comes to just using common sense. Now, this is probably not just an American thing. This is probably just a human thing. And I say, because you find this to be true all over the planet, actually. So it's not here. It's not just in Texas, not just in Houston, not just in the United States. There's lack of common sense. That's right. Common sense is not so common. Now you have a lot of people that live in certain areas. They live in extreme weather event areas. And it is beyond me why you live through some of these and you're still not prepared for another one. I mean, it's honestly, they've even, although they're not on TV anymore. I haven't seen any new ones, but there was for a while, and I don't know why they've been pulled. I thought they were pretty popular. All these prepper type of TV programs. There was a whole rash of them on for a few years. Preppers. And some people did some extreme prepping kind of stuff. I got me enough food here for a family of 10 to last us 20 years. Well, I don't think you got to be prep that extreme for the most part. But to be able to last a week is probably not out of the question. And it doesn't take as much as, some people might think. Oh, man, in order a week, I got to have a basement full of food. No, it doesn't really. I mean, they have, you could actually, you could buy kits. Some of them are pretty expensive, I understand. But you can make your own kits. Just follow what's in some of these other kits, and you could make a kit that, a bug out bag or a bug out box that'll last you anywhere. You could make them for 3 to 5 days, 3 to 5 to 7 days. It really doesn't take as much as you think. Your biggest problem is going to be water. Not so much food. You can get food and energy bars, and they don't weigh anything, and they take up very little space. But water is the big issue. So you might, instead of trying to load up on tons and gallons and gallons and gallons of water for drinking, you might want to load up on filters, water filters. They have them. I know some of them can be quite expensive, but some of them are not. And trust me, you don't want to use any of those iodine or bleaching type of tablets, because it makes the water taste absolutely terrible. Yeah, as a Boy Scout, we had to do that kind of stuff. This stuff was awful. Not to mention, it kind of acts like in your gut like an antibiotic, and it kills some of the good bacteria. And you're going to have problems digesting stuff. You're going to get gas and bloated and all that kind of stuff. So you want to avoid, that's a backup. Have those kind of things, those tablets and things, as a backup. But the main thing you should probably have is a water filter. And they could run in the neighborhood of $50 to $200 or more. Those hiking and camping portable water filters, some of them can get pretty pricey. It really can. But that's what you should get. Because otherwise you're going to have to go to the grocery store like a lot of these idiots do and buy gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons of water. See, nobody ever thinks about just take... well, they actually... I'll admit I didn't think about calling it this, but this is what it has been called. If you're a Pinterest person or a prepper, or you know anything about it, what they call it is canning water. And that's exactly what they do. They just take regular tap water and they can it. Like you would, preserves or fruits or vegetables. They can it. What do you mean can it, right? You just pour it in a can and let, no. They actually sterilize it. Like you're canning food. People do that with water. It's cheap. You don't have to go to the store and buy it. But you do have to have, you got to have some sort of glass or plastic container that can handle some of the heat. But using plastic, then obviously you're not going to be able to get the heat up very high because the plastic will melt. But people do that. They've done it with, they've actually canned water. But doing that means that it's heavy because it's glass. So you're better off just getting one of those filter or two, one of those filters. But again, these people do not do this on a regular basis, and they live in these places where this kind of stuff happens. Now, it's one thing if you live in an apartment or a condo and you can't store that kind of stuff, or you don't have that much space to store. I get it. I also understand that there's a shed, what are they, those storage places, those U-store places? Believe it or not, there's one here in New Hampshire that caters to preppers. He doesn't have a big, how you can buy the 10 by 10 or 10 by 20, rent the 10 by 10s or 10 by 20s or the big, no, he does, they're all like 5 by 10s. And now I would think that if you do run into a problem where you need to bug out, there's going to be an awful lot of people trying to get to their storage shed. But hey, he's found a niche, because there are a lot of people that don't have their space or the room or the ability to, because they live in apartments or they live in, condos or places that they don't have a lot of extra storage, so they store stuff there. But you also got to live close enough to get to it, I guess. But in any case, I know some people are thinking, well, where the hell is he going with this? It's called preparation and using common sense. There's only so much. You can't prep or prepare for everything. But you can use some basic common sense, which many Americans do not, because all we do is we elect some very bad people, some very poor politicians, and then we look to them to tell us what we need to be doing. Instead of just looking at the facts for ourselves and deciding for ourselves, well, hey, this could get bad here. Look at your wife, Carol, Mike, and say, we better get the 6 kids and get the hell out of Dodge. For those of you who don't know who Mike and Carol are, try the Brady Bunch. Just get the housekeeper and the kids and the dog and get out of Dodge. It's not, you don't have people staying around saying, well, I'm going to stay right here with my house. Why? You can't protect it. What are you gonna stand there with the raincoat or something to try to keep out the wind and water? Why are you staying there? This is my house. I'm staying here with my house. Well, your house is gonna fall down or be flooded, and no. But they will listen to people if these politicians tell them to get out. A lot of these stubborn people will say, well, maybe we better leave, Ethel. And they don't tell them to. You say, no, everything's going to be fine. Well, why? Because they don't want to. They don't want to inundate or utilize the money because they're going to lose money if they say, well, it's flooding. Look, there are flood gauges that they have. Evidently, they have flood gauges, signs in parts of town. This is kind of. Here in New England, what we have is historical flood gauges. In other words, if you look on some buildings in some towns, they'll have a mark and tell you the flood level of the flood of 1938 or something. But down in Texas, what I saw when I was there, and I guess there are some pictures of this in the news, is that they actually have signs that are in various locations of the cities that actually tell you what the flood level is. If water is up to this point, this is the flood level, and it marks it up. And there are pictures of certain places in and around Houston and Corpus Christi that has as much as 12 to 15 feet of flood water. Well, if you're going to get that much water, now look, this stuff was kind of predicted actually, and they were pretty accurate. Saying you're going to get for like 40, 50 inches of rain coming down. You're going to get as much as 2 to 3 inches an hour in some cases at the worst part of the storm because it's just going to stall. Harvey's just going to be stalled over that part of Texas. Not going to move very fast or very much. It's just going to stall. The one good thing about hurricanes usually is that they can be very devastating, but they usually do not hang out in one particular location. Well, for whatever reason, the weather patterns all around, in the United States is causing Harvey to kind of hang around longer than it normally would have. And so they're going to get more and more rain. That's where the bulk of the flooding is actually coming from. It isn't coming from the surging of the Gulf waters, although, Corpus Christi and Galveston had to deal with that. But Houston isn't dealing with the surge. Houston is dealing with the rain. Way too much of it. And this is why people needed to be prepared to get out. And now they can't. Because you had a mayor who was saying no. Houston residents were giving mixed messages before the storm struck. The Republican governor suggested evacuation, but the Democratic mayor and a Republican judge overseeing the city's emergency operations suggested otherwise. Now, I don't know why there was a judge overseeing this, but Democratic mayor? Didn't we have a Democratic mayor in New Orleans that told people to stay put and then tried to shove them all into the Pontiac Superdome? Yeah, isn't that what happened? Yeah, and now we have another Democratic mayor, Republican governor saying, hey, get out of Dodge. And the Democratic mayor said, no. Why don't you just hold on. Stay put. You'll be fine. Now, granted, it isn't kind of the devastation that we had in New Orleans back during Katrina, but the same method, same theology, same thought process applies here, folks. And obviously, it's not just Democrats can be this stupid. We had a Republican judge overseeing the city's emergency. Why do you have do you need a judge? I mean, why is there a judge overlooking? That's not what they do. I mean, well, not to mention the reality of the way Houston is designed and Houston is built. Well, I mean, it's very, I guess, the whole, I've never been to, well, I've been to the Houston airport. That's where I've been to Houston. But I understand Houston is rather flat. And that makes it a lot more, I guess to some people, makes it more susceptible to flooding. It would think to me that if you had valleys and hills, it'd be, there'd be certain areas that'd be more susceptible. But evidently, flatness allows the water to hang around. Okay. This is why I'm not an emergency personnel person. But you would think that those in charge, like the mayor, would know this kind of stuff, or at least would be briefed upon it, would at least have some common sense. But here's the mayor without any common sense telling people to stay, and the Republican governor saying, yeah, I got some common sense and y'all should leave. But guess who the people decided to listen to? Yeah, because I don't know why.
Hello, America. It's me, your history. I remember a time when we thumbed our nose in a king's face, sent him packing. And when fascists and emperors talked a little bit too loud, we showed up, tore their cities to the ground, and then rebuilt them just to prove we could. We put men on the moon, we won a Cold War, and we elected fearless leaders who led fearless people. What the hell happened to you, America? Back in my day, we didn't elect a big-eared community organizer. We punched him in the kidney. Maybe it's time you came home, America. Home where you belong.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
This is Free America broadcasting on the Rod Eccles Show with a message to all patriots trapped behind the lines in California, New York, Boston, and Chicago. Don't give up, true lovers of America. Even as we speak, moves are being made to drive the invaders back to the land from which they came. Defeat the would-be dictators and lift the chains of tyranny from around your neck. Stay strong. Stay brave. You're not forgotten, and you're not alone. Until next time, patriots, this is Free America signing out.
Call Rod now, 603-835-3226. Lines are open.
Many places where, like New Orleans and including Houston and the Gulf Coast of Texas and many other places along even here in New Hampshire, there are many places that the Army Corps of Engineers and others have designed ways in order to reduce the effects of potential damaging flooding. And Houston is no different. They have reservoirs and things in order to help with the flooding. Preventing flooding. But we can't build things to take care of, a once-in-a-millennium type of flood event. I mean, I suppose we could, but it would take up an awful lot of land and it would cost $1 bazillion to do. And so when stuff that we build, because we're so arrogant sometimes that we think, oh, this will handle that. And then when people find out that it won't handle it, now the Army Corps of Engineers, I guess, were warning people that there were a couple of reservoirs in and around Houston that were built and maintained to help prevent the flooding of much of Houston, especially downtown. And they just had too much rain all at once. The runoff was getting into the reservoirs, and it was putting pressure on dams and levees that they needed to release the pressure. And so they say, look, we're going to open the floodgates, and water's going to come out. And the water got so high in some places, not just from opening the floodgates, but in some places, depending on how low-lying you were, that people living on the second floor apartments were being flooded out. There is going to be an awful lot of devastated and condemned buildings and housing in the Houston area this week. Black mold and other kinds of mold is going to be rampant. It's just going to be just like Hurricane Katrina all over again, except for the nation's fourth largest city. And all because people got mixed messages on how to be prepared for this storm. Because we have politicians that are more interested in fighting each other on the form of a party basis than they are in protecting the American people. And you got to understand, simply because a Republican governor said, well, I think people should leave Houston, you got to understand a little bit of the blowback from the Democratic mayor is because the governor is Republican. Guarantee you. But, of course, they'll say, no, it has nothing to do with it. It has a lot to do with it. Not everything, but a lot. This is why you can't just pay attention and only depend on these politicians. Well, you may elect them, but how many people are going to reelect this current Democratic governor simply because they're Democrats and he's a Democrat? Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm a leftist elite Hollywood a-hole? If so, good news. The Rod Eccles Hollywood Community College is now open, featuring such courses as unemployment is not paid vacation. No, Americans don't want to spend $19 for an order of French fries, and the ever popular shut the hell up. Why, just listen to this big-time celebrity endorsement.
I'm not Rosie O'Donnell, and I think this school's offensive, sexist, and racist.
And I think you're a giant a-hole who needs to shut the hell up. Hey, we teach a course in that. The Rod Eccles Hollywood Community College, where being an a-hole is not a guarantee you'll be an A student.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We've got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and always stay in the kitchen when cooking at high temperatures. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
And now, a message from the American Migraine Foundation.
It's an absolute nightmare. I was terrified. It was like your head's gonna explode.
Migraine is a disabling disease.
Just all of a sudden couldn't see.
Migraine has ruined my life.
Absolutely terrifying.
There's pain that does not stop.
It's a throbbing, pulsing, banging, hammering feeling in your head.
36 million Americans suffer.
I started getting migraines around 5 years old.
Just takes over everything.
I feel trapped by migraine.
It hurts like my head's gonna fall off.
And the whole world around you stops.
My world has gotten small.
You feel like the world's closing in on you. There's nothing you can do. I had spent a year housebound.
It's like you're trapped in your head. There's no escaping it. You can't leave your body.
Don't suffer alone. Make your move against migraine. Visit AmericanMigraineFoundation.org to find help, learn more, and get connected.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The human voice. It can be sweet as music, powerful as thunder,
And so, my fellow Americans,
cheerful as laughter. But for millions of people, it can also be a sign of COPD. This serious lung disease can make it so hard to breathe, you often can't catch a breath or finish a sentence, let alone carry a tune. And many who have COPD don't even know it. That's where your voice comes in. If you think you or a loved one have symptoms, talk with a healthcare provider. Early diagnosis can mean better treatments and quality of life. Join us in raising our voices for the millions with COPD who can't. Learn more, breathe better at NIH.gov.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Welcome back. Here it is, August number 28 in the year of our Lord 2017. Hour number 260-3835-3226 is the call-in number as we continue on. Hey, there's every time you turn around, you got people who want to, in our government, that want to charge you for something. Now, this is no different from when you go to the airport. Now, Boston's Logan Airport is actually looking at the possibility of charging you to drop off or pick up a friend at the Logan International Airport. That's right. You just drive up. You could pay a toll. You have to pay a toll. Now you probably think, well, that's just Boston, Rod. Well, there's a number of issues with this. You see, because there are a lot of airports that they're not easy access. Let's put it that way. I haven't been to an airport yet where you could walk to the airport. You can't walk there. You have to get there by some motorized transportation system. You can't take a bicycle. Have you ever been to an airport where they have a biking parking? Bike parks? No, there aren't any. So it's not like you can ride your bike there. And, I talk about all these wonderful people that want to be green. Well, there's no place for parking your bike, even if you work there. There are no bike lanes going to any airport that I know of. We got bike lanes everywhere else, but not to the airport. You got sidewalks running everywhere else, but not to the airport. Now, here in Boston, you've only got three, technically, but only two ways to get to the airport. By bus or by car. Now, of course, the car could be in the form of a taxi. There's no train system that goes... For the life of me, I can't figure out why they spent all this money on the Big Dig. For the life of me, I cannot figure out why they did not build a train line, a subway line, to the airport. There isn't one. The reality is that in many municipalities that have subways or train system, T-type, we call it the T here, train system or trolley systems, the reality is that the majority of airports where municipalities have such a system do not go to the airport. So they limit your way to get to the airport. Now they want to charge you for it. And if you think this is only going to be at Logan, well, that's only in the Northeast. Well, understand this. The reason why they're considering this, because other airports around the world, like London's Heathrow, already do it. Evidently, yes, if you got to pay a toll in order to get to the Heathrow airport. I mean, there are a lot of people driving, and according to this story from the Boston Globe, evidently in just 2 years, now I don't know how this is possible, but in just 2 years, evidently Logan International Airport has increased the number of flights annually by 15,000. So in other words, in 2015, there were 15,000 annual flights less than there are today in 2017. I mean, that's basically increasing 7,000 a year, 7,500 flights a year. I don't know how Logan is able to do that, tell you the truth. Look, I've been to Logan numerous times. They've done a lot of work. I'll admit they've done a lot of work over there, but it ain't that big. Now, am I challenging the number? No, I'm not exactly challenging the number. I just don't see how it's possible without. I mean, you got to increase the number of flights. It means the number of passengers. Well, how else are these passengers going to get there? If you were to take all these people that are going to fill an additional 15,000 flights a year, there's not even enough buses that run to Logan. I mean, do you understand this? This is what I'm talking about, common sense and electing the wrong people, the same people over and over again who are the wrong people, and appointing the same people over and over again who are the wrong people. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They've limited mass transportation to get in and out of the airport, so people got to drive. And now because people got to drive, because they limited mass transportation, hey, these are the same people that tell us that, well, we got to have mass transportation in order to save the planet, right? Why don't they have massive amounts of mass transportation? Do you realize that in this country, we don't have a real mass transportation system? We don't. I mean, the best we got is in New York City. That's it. We don't have easy, quick mass transportation. I suppose Boston isn't so bad, but Boston's mass transit system doesn't get you everywhere. I mean, New York City, the subway is vast. Their subway system is pretty vast. In Boston, it's not. You've got to go to the surface and take freaking buses, and buses get caught in all that traffic. Not to mention, buses contribute to the traffic, especially out in the Cambridge. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of buses that they have out in the Cambridge area of Boston. So which is what, northwest of the city. It's ridiculous out the buses, and they're all driving down the same basic path, the same route. There isn't. But there's not trying to get to the air. Do you realize how difficult it is to get mass transit to the airport in Boston? It's a nightmare. That's why so many people drive and get dropped off. Because there is no mass transit system going to the airport. Really. And this is a repeat all across the country, where most major airports do not have a full mass transit system getting you to and from the airport. A lot of them don't. The funny thing is some of the biggest ones or busiest ones don't. I think there's the subway goes to Kennedy Airport in New York City. I don't know about LaGuardia though. But you don't have One of the San Francisco airport is a good example of how they've gotten mass transit to and from the airport correct. I mean, because you can get on subway system. Why would you be in the subway system in San Francisco? Well, I get it. Earthquake prone. Blah, 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 blah. But they've got a very good system, mass transit system, besides buses, to get you to the San Francisco airport and get you away from the San Francisco airport. And it's nowhere near as busy as Logan here in Boston. But yet San Francisco has a subway system. They have a mass transit system that'll get you to and from San Francisco to the airport and back easily, quickly. Charles de Gaulle Airport, Paris, France. They got a train system that'll get you off, out of the Charles de Gaulle and into Paris. But you can't do that in Logan. And so because you can't do that in Logan, they want to charge you. And trust me, knowing how Massachusetts is with their toll system, it is going to be hefty. And you think, we pay for, there's a lot that we pay for here in the Northeast. And the reason is, well, we got to, maintain it. First they put tolls up so they can say they can pay off the bonds for building the damn thing. And then they keep the tolls because, we got to maintain it. What's it cost to cross the George Washington Bridge? Is it $6-7 now? To cross the George Washington Bridge, New York City? Just the bridge. The other bridges are and tunnels are similar. The Tappan Zee Bridge, I mean, right now one of the tunnels leading into from downtown Boston over towards the airport they're not charging. I don't know why, but they've taken the tolls down. I think because they're redoing something, they're rebuilding. I have no idea, but I have noticed that they've taken and people use that tunnel more often now because there's no toll charge. Well, it makes sense. People are going to avoid tolls if they can. But do they think the reason why they're looking at charging a toll fee to drop people off and pick them up at the airport? Well, one is because it's going to generate a lot of revenue, but they think it's going to, because they see it elsewhere, they think it's going to keep people from doing this type of, engaging in this type of behavior. But if you have no other way to get to the airport, what do you think is going to happen? Well, yeah, they know this. There isn't going to be a sudden massive drop in people being dropped off and picked up at Logan International Airport. It's going to be a money grab, folks, because there is no other way for people. If there was another way, and a feasible, easy mass transit system to get you in and out of Logan, people would avoid the toll and take the mass transit. But there isn't one. There just isn't. You've got buses, sure. You got city bus. They're awful. They're not fast. They get caught in traffic. Like cars do. You've got the coach. I mean, I take a coach bus from the Concord, New Hampshire area whenever I go into Logan. That's pretty efficient for me. However, it takes a lot longer. I mean, the ride into Logan is usually about, from Concord is about an hour 15, hour and a half. The bus is longer than that. It's an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on traffic. And hey, you can get caught in traffic, which happens sometimes, which means you've got to take an earlier bus just to make sure that you don't get caught in traffic and miss your flight. because there's no train. So it's not like I can take the bus down to one of the T stations, trains, commuter rail stations, in order to get there. Because the train doesn't go. There's no train, no commuter rail, no subway, no trolley system. There's no other way unless I want to take a taxi. Again, which is subject to what? Yeah, traffic. So you want to, this is what they want to do all over the country now, folks, is they want to start charging people for using certain items in the public domain. Because too many people are using it now. And they haven't built alternatives for people not to use the roadways. And one of the big things is well, hey, they're already charging taxi, Uber, Lyft, and other ride, hailing services a fee for utilizing the airport, and those costs are passed on to the passengers. So why shouldn't drivers of private cars be charged too? Because people who are taking an Uber or a taxi are choosing to pay. When they could take somebody could drop them off. They could take the bus. But they choose Uber maybe because they don't have somebody that can drop them off. But there's no other way for them to get there. Because our wonderful government doesn't make things easy for people, and because they limit our choices, government limits our choices, they want to charge us for those limited choices. This is just the same as anything else out there that's government run, folks. I have no idea why people really do this. Seriously. Why they want their choices limited by government. And then they elect the same people who will limit their choices to begin with. Why isn't there a T line, a subway line running to the airport? I don't know. You ask somebody that question, and you know what? Somebody was asked that question before. And you know what their answer was? Oh, we just didn't think about it. Hello?
You're listening to the Rod Eccles Show, the coolest, most politically incorrect, conservative black man on the planet.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com. CyberArk.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, "I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar." Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, "I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar." And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
(603-835-3226). You know, when you think about being charged for all kinds of things for governmental use, you know, these so-called, it's a tax, basically. I don't care what they call it. They can call it a toll, they can call it a fee, they can call it a license. It's still just a tax. But they can't call it a tax because, you know, people don't want to pay taxes. But they'll pay fees or tolls, which is really, it just goes to show how well, I'm just going to say it, how stupid people are. Not just here in America. It's all over the globe. That's why names are important on things. It's why we go, companies go through, spend an awful lot of money to name a product or a service, to figure out what to name it. Because names mean a lot. What you call something means a hell of a lot. And government officials know that if you can get away with not calling something other than, a tax, other than a tax, people are going to accept it and be more willing to pay it. I say it's a license or a licensing fee. We do this a lot of times in professional organizations, right? You got to be licensed now to be a mortgage broker. You didn't have to be get a license before to be a mortgage. Now you got to be licensed. And how do you get licensed? Well, yeah, you got to take a test, but you also got to pay a licensing fee. Well, it's nothing more than a tax. And the stuff isn't cheap. These licenses, governmental licenses, both on a local, state, and federal level, they're not cheap. You have to spend a lot of money on these damn things. And do they really protect the consumer? Not all that much, really. No, they don't. But you got to pay all these, licenses and fees. They're all taxes, folks. But if you call them something other than a tax, and people are more than willing. Now, would you be willing to pay a $6 tax every time you try to drive over the George Washington Bridge in New York City, or does a toll sound better? Yeah, you're more willing to pay a toll than a tax. Just saying. So at least that part they've got corrected. D.C. judge approves government warrant for data from anti-Trump website. Yes, a District of Columbia Superior Court judge last week approved the government warrant seeking data from an anti-Trump website related to Inauguration Day protest. Chief Judge Robert Morin said DreamHost, a Los Angeles-based web hosting company, must turn over data about visitors to the website disruptj20.org, which is a home to political activists who organized protests at the time of Donald Trump's inauguration back in January. Now, Morin, who will oversee review of the data, said the government must explain what protocols it will use to make sure prosecutors do not seize the data of innocent users. Now, the Justice Department is seeking the records connected to the site because of concerns that it helped facilitate the planning of protests on Inauguration Day when more than 200 people were arrested for rioting and vandalizing businesses in downtown Washington, D.C. Now, you remember those scenes where you saw, a limousine torch. Yeah, more than 200. Some of those people are being, charged with terrorist-type crimes. Good, because they should be. for doing such destructive, being so destructive. But yeah, so the government wants to get some of this information, and a judge is saying, okay, we're going to put limits on it. Oh, maybe DreamHost should charge the government a licensing fee for getting hold of this information. See if they'll still do it. Call it a tax.
Dad, we need to talk.
Can we just enjoy the drive?
If you're not going to listen to me, who will we listen to?
Jeffrey. Marcia Gay Harden, what?
Eyes on the road, Dad.
What are you doing? What are you doing in my back seat? How did you get in here?
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain's changing. It's natural.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age and helping to reduce some of the risks to your brain.
Really? Now that's interesting.
So, you'll talk to her about this, but not me. Marcia Gay Harden? Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov. She didn't say goodbye? I mean, I would have. Visit brainhealth.gov.
Every day, 70,000 puppies or kittens are born in the U.S. Cute, right? What's not cute is that half of all litters are accidents, which leads to millions killed in shelters each year. Turns out, those little cuties can get pregnant sooner than you think. But here's the good news. You can stop the accident before it happens. When you bring home a pet, get them fixed at 4 months old. Prevent more. Fix at month 4. Visit fixat4.com for more information. Brought to you by Best Friends Animal Society.
There's a threat targeting America. One that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin. This dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event!
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late, we stay informed, we invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, this is Kelsey Grammer. When military service members head into battle,
None are expected to face the enemy alone, but many return home and become isolated as they struggle with the visible and invisible wounds of war. It can be difficult knowing how to overcome that challenge and rekindle bonds similar to those formed in the military. Wounded Warrior Project supports these injured veterans through their recoveries by connecting them with fellow warriors and their communities. No one should fight this battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Call Rod now, 666-603-835-3226. Welcome back. Glad that you are here as we continue on with the program this morning on this Monday morning here. We got this story out of California. I know it's California, folks. But California passed a law boosting transparency on cell phone surveillance, but it's not working. So the LA Times has a story as to why it's not working. And the story starts out by reminding us several years ago, little was known about the Stingray, a powerful surveillance device that imitates the function of a cell phone tower and captures the signals of nearby phones, allowing law enforcement officers to sweep through hundreds of messages, conversations, and call logs. Now, the secrecy around the technology, which can ensure the personal data of criminals and bystanders, or ensnare personal data of criminals and bystanders alike, spurred lawsuits and demands for public records to uncover who was using it and the extent of its capabilities. Now, in California, a 2015 law requires law enforcement agencies to seek permission at public meetings to buy the devices and post rules for their use online. Now, the problem is that these are quasi cell phone towers. They're designed to steal your signal from another cell phone tower. Do people understand this, first of all? No, they don't. Hey, well, it's just a surveillance thing. Well, no, it's designed to actually steal your signal because you're closer to that tower than that fake tower than you are a real tower. And this is how they operate, utilizing how cell phone systems actually work to their to law enforcement's advantage as far as stealing your. Yes, it's called stealing. They're stealing your privacy, your information. You know, I mean, without a warrant. You know, it's different, right? This is cell phone. Well, did you know how difficult it was to get it used to be to get a warrant just to tap your phone line? Why? Because it was using wires instead of the airwaves? Now, a Los Angeles Times review of records from 20 of the state's largest police and sheriff's departments, plus the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, found some agencies have been slow to follow or have ignored the law. Hello? They've ignored the law. I love that. Slow to follow. So if you're slow to follow, what happens? You get a ticket and or arrested, don't you? If you ignore a law, what happens to you? You get a ticket or you get arrested. Do you not? So we have law enforcement agencies that are charged with upholding the laws of the land, at least of their municipalities, and they're not doing it. Because, the compliance is too difficult. What do you mean it's too Several that partnered with federal agencies to work on cases are not subject to the law's reporting requirements. Oh, yeah, that's a way around it. Hey, we're not doing this on our own. We're working with the FBI. FBI doesn't have to follow local law. Well, last time I checked, the FBI still works is still regulated by the Constitution. Yeah, are they not? I'm just saying. You know, some people are probably thinking, "Oh, here goes Rod. He's on his anti-law enforcement kick." No, I'm not. I'm all for law enforcement. The primary part being law. Nobody's above the law. I don't care if you have a badge or if you don't have a badge. I don't care what kind of badge you got. We all have to live under and are subject to the same rules of law. You can't have different people being able to get away with certain parts of the law. That doesn't work for a society. Not a free and just society like ours. No, it doesn't work for that. It works for dictatorial regimes, sure. But it doesn't work for a free and equal society. Because otherwise you end up with some people who are more equal than others. This is why I don't... this is not a bash on the police, but there are too many times where people get a pass because they currently have or once had a badge. And you know this to be true. Look, I've been in the car with a cop when he got out of a speeding ticket simply by flashing his badge. You know how fast you were going? Oh, why didn't you tell me you were an officer? You should slow down, though. You in an emergency? No, you should slow down. Now, if that were me sitting in the driver's seat, I would have got the ticket. I mean, but it happens. We understand this. We most of us may not like it. We don't see the law being applied equally. But at least they still have to obey the law to some degree. But now you're telling me, according to the LA Times, that, hey, let's just ignore it. Well, who's gonna arrest the police? Exactly. There's nobody to arrest the police unless you get another cop to do it, right? And how often does that happen? Unless a bad cop does something really, really bad, how often is it that a cop gets arrested by another cop? I'm just saying. It doesn't happen very often. They're definitely not going to give him a ticket. I don't think I've ever been to a traffic court where I've seen another cop fighting a ticket. It doesn't happen. And look, we're even told, or it's even taught to us that this type of favoritism is okay on our TV programs. Do we not see this on TV cop shows like Blue Bloods and Criminal Minds and all those? Yeah. Cops they get a benefit of the doubt. They get a little bit. Again, I'm not being anti-cop here. What I want is fairness and honesty on all sides. If a civilian is going to have to follow the law, a non-cop is going to have to follow the law or go to jail for it, be arrested for it. And the same thing should go for a cop. No questions asked. There should be no difference. So if the police are not, why else do we have laws? If the police are not going to follow the laws, how can they actually be out there trying to uphold laws? They're just going to pick and choose? They can't pick and choose. They're not allowed to pick and choose. Even on a bad law, we always say, well, if there's a law that's obviously bad, then cops shouldn't uphold it. But who's going to decide that? You got one cop that says, well, that's a bad law, I'm not going to uphold it. And you got another cop that says, well, it's the law, I'm going to uphold it. Now you get a problem. You get a disparity within the law, within law enforcement. You can't have that. You can't have a balanced society if you're going to have disparity. You're going to have some police departments who uphold the law and follow the law and get permission first, and you get some departments that decide, screw that, we're not going to follow that law. We don't have to because we're the cops. Can you see how that's a problem? That's a massive problem. And look, this isn't this type of stuff really, obviously, oftentimes, 99% of the time, it is not the fault or the problem of the cop on the street. Now, look, cops are even told, look, you got a fellow officer someplace else, you give him a professional. Look, I know this professional courtesy stuff. And I did process serving. There are a couple of times I used that standard. I say, look, I'm off. I apologize, officer. I must have missed that sign. I'm a fellow officer of the court. I'm a process server. Can I get a little professional courtesy here? And every time they said, yeah, be careful. I get it. I've utilized it. I'm no idiot. No, I mean it's just the way it is. Should it happen that way? No, it should not. Does it happen that way? Yeah. But when it comes to stuff like this, do you think it should be okay for certain police departments just to ignore the law where they have to get permission and go through the process of putting up these fake towers? Or should they just do it on their own? Or should they be able to side skirt the whole system by just getting the federal government, a federal government policing agency like the FBI or the DEA, to say, hey, can you guys do this for us? Sure. Sounds great. I'm just saying. The Los Angeles Times review of records from 20 of the state's largest police and sheriff's department found, plus the Alameda County district attorneys even not even following the law. The results is that little information on stingray use is available to the public, making it hard to determine how wide a net the surveillance tools cast and what kind of data they gather. Out of 21 law enforcement agencies surveyed in California, 12 were found to own or have access to a stingray or similar device. Only 9 of those agencies have developed and released online public policies. So 21 were surveyed. 12 of them were found to utilize this sort of information where they're supposed to have, by law, a process of releasing and having a public policy on this stuff, and only 9 of them do. So that means 3 of them don't. 3 of them are breaking the law. Now, who's going to go and arrest all those cops? I'm just not saying that I don't know who makes the decisions in that kind of thing. I don't know who makes it. Well, if it's the police chief, I guess you arrest the police chief. Then he's the one breaking the law, right? But if that's also the case, if they're breaking the law, should the cops follow underneath the police chief? Should they follow the orders, or should they disobey the orders and then potentially arrest the police chief for giving an illegal order? Interesting. Well, I mean, look, in the military, there is a code of ethics that you are tasked with actually disobeying in an illegal or immoral order. Isn't that the same case with police departments? Aren't you tasked with actually taking action against anyone who gives you an illegal order? I mean, if the police chief is giving you an order to break the law, should you not arrest the police chief? Look, I know that's never going to happen. But should it not? And if we did start doing that, would regular people start to trust their police departments more? If the police actually police themselves, would people start to? Yes, I believe that they would. Because then they'd see that there's fairness there. Speaking of fairness, President Trump, it looks like, is expected to lift the ban on military gear going to local police forces. This was a ban that was implemented by President Obama, and I got to tell you, I agreed with this policy. I do not believe that we should be militarizing our police departments. Now understand that our police departments are full of military-trained military vets. I get that. But we should not be the police department should not be a quasi-military department. They shouldn't be. They should not. I mean, I've mentioned this before. The city of Keene, New Hampshire, approximately 24,000 people. That's it. They have a surplus armored transportation device called a Bearcat. Why does a police department with only 23,000 people need an armored vehicle? It doesn't. So this is the kind of thing that should not happen on American streets. We can't have a militarized police department. We really can't. I know some people are going to say, well, geez, you're just against it. No, I'm very pro-law enforcement and pro-police, but there are limits. They do not have carte blanche. Why? Because we have a constitution, both a federal and a state. In all 50 states, there's a state constitution. You cannot have military people patrolling the streets. I mean, that's what happens in a dictatorship. That's what happens in fascism. That's what happens, in communism. Not in a free, democratic style society. What about riot? Well, I mean, it's special occasions where you have to gear up for riots and things like that. Crowd control. You don't need a lot of military gear, so to speak, like armored transportation. Troop carrying vehicles. I mean, what's next? You're going to start putting military guns on these things. You're going to start putting artillery on them. That's the next step. Trust me, to think that if we allow our police departments to continue to militarize, what's next? Drones, armed drones. They're coming. They are coming, folks. I had the story here. It's only a matter of time. Where did I put that in the paper? Matter of time before we have armed police drones. Do you want that? Just saying, folks, you cannot militarize your police department. It's not a good idea.
I'm not Rod Eccles, and I approve this message. A couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said, "I'll bet you're a Nazi." Well, I love America, support the Constitution, and believe in capitalism. So I told him I'm not a Nazi, and I'm not. So what happens? The punk breaks out 2 windows and pepper sprays an elderly woman in the face. There's one thing about long-haired young people nowadays. They're real assholes. Long-haired young people, you suck.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, But now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
Warning. Listening to the Rod Eccles Show by the Idiot Left may cause outrage, fear, a need for safety pins and/or spaces. If you experience any of these symptoms or are allergic to truth, tune in and learn something.
The most politically incorrect black man in America. You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
603-835-3226. Glad that you are still tuning in. Yeah. Do you support the whole notion that police departments should be militarized? Well, then why should we have police departments? Why don't we just put the military in the street then? I find that interesting. You know, when you bring that argument up, people will say, well, no, we can't have the military in the street. Well, you're putting the military in the street when you give your police department, your police officers, the same equipment and training that you have that military personnel have. The only difference is they're not under control of the Department of Defense and the president. They're under control of who know, God knows who. The local mayor. Well, and many times mayors aren't even you know. A mayor may be able to hire a police chief, but a lot of times these mayors, they can hire him, but they can't fire him. They have no control. And sometimes they're not even, you don't even have a mayor. There's a lot of towns that don't have mayors. The city of Concord, New Hampshire, the state's capital, doesn't have a mayor. We don't have a mayoral system here. So, I mean, what? It takes a committee to fire the police chief? I mean, really? So you want to give these kinds of people free reign over military equipment and military training? It's not a good idea. Never has been. It's just not a good idea. And it doesn't make me anti-police. I'm very pro-police, but I don't want our military patrolling our streets. There's a reason why the founders didn't want that either. And just by, well, it's not the military, Rod, it's the police. Well, if you give them this, what makes military the military? Equipment and training, does it not? So does it matter that it's, the Department of Defense that is doing the training and having the equipment, or your local police department? Still military training and still military equipment. It's still military style. It's military. SWAT teams, anybody? I mean, there was huge debate about SWAT teams when they first appeared in the 70s. People, rightfully so, back then thought about, well, geez, this is military-style policing here. And yet, people's concerns were overshadowed, and now we've got SWAT teams everywhere. And now we're moving beyond SWAT. It's one thing to have SWAT, but now we're moving beyond SWAT, folks. Now they're getting Bearcats, they're getting armored vehicles, they're getting certain types of military. We are militarizing we're putting the military on our streets. So is that really what you want?
Today, there's a beer for everyone.
Hey, me and the guys are going out for beer. You want to come along?
Nah, I got a lot of data to enter into the computer tonight.
Now, there's a brew for the future.
Want me to bring you something back?
Thanks, but I got some right here.
Microsoft Brew.
You got a beer tap on your computer?
With a head so thick you can float a mouse on it.
Let me get this straight. You make your own beer with the computer?
With the right software, you can do anything.
Microsoft Brew.
Here, I call this one Windows 95.
I don't know. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
And if you got to get there quicker, try the new ISDN malt liquor.
When I found out I had atrial fibrillation, a serious but highly treatable heart condition, the first thing I thought of was who would take care of my wife and children if anything were to happen to me. My doctor recommended Pravactin. I had a lot of questions, so I did some research. It turns out Pravactin is the #1 recommended drug for Crohn's disease. I think my doctor's trying to kill me and steal my wife.
Doctors. They'll stop at nothing to get your wife.
And now, a message from the American Migraine Foundation.
It's an absolute nightmare. I was terrified. It was like your head's gonna explode.
Migraine is a disabling disease.
Just all of a sudden couldn't see.
Migraine has ruined my life.
Absolutely terrifying.
There's pain that does not stop.
It's a throbbing, pulsing, banging, hammering feeling in your head.
36 million Americans suffer.
I started getting migraines around 5 years old.
Just takes over everything.
I feel trapped by migraine. It hurts like my head's gonna fall off.
And the whole world around you stops.
My world has gotten small.
You feel like the world's closing in on you. There's nothing you can do.
I had spent a year housebound. It's like you're trapped in your head. There's no escaping it. You can't leave your body.
Don't suffer alone. Make your move against migraine. Visit AmericanMigraineFoundation.org to find help, learn more, and get connected.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The human voice. It can be sweet as music, powerful as thunder,
and so, my fellow Americans,
cheerful as laughter. But for millions of people, it can also be a sign of COPD. This serious lung disease can make it so hard to breathe, you often can't catch a breath or finish a sentence, let alone carry a tune. And many who have COPD don't even know it. That's where your voice comes in. If you think you or a loved one have symptoms, talk with a healthcare provider. Early diagnosis can mean better treatments and quality of life. Join us in raising our voices for the millions with COPD who can't. Learn more, breathe better, at nih.gov.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge. Welcome back. Hour number 3, fastest 3 hours here on Internet Talk Radios, right here on the Rod Eccles Show. Thank you for being here. Here it is, August number 28 in the year of our Lord 2017. Next week, we got the debut of the brand new website. It is looking like it is going to be all ready by next Tuesday or Wednesday. Got some video that's going to be on there. Oh yeah, it looks good, folks. It really does look good. And there'll be some tweaking to the audio program as well. We're looking forward to to improving. We're always striving to improve the program here. I really honestly understand the quandary that we're at when it comes to policing, because we're asking our police departments to do a lot more than they used to. We have somebody in the chat room who's reminded me of the L.A. bank robber, the two bank robbers that had that full body armor and held off just about the entire L.A. Police Department. The L.A. Police Department was thoroughly outgunned by these two. Now, understand, both of them were eventually killed. Both suspects were killed. But there was a lot of damage to public and private property, and cops were being shot at and wounded like crazy. I get that part. And we've had to make these kind of decisions before. And now we're into this area of terrorism on our streets. So do we militarize our police department at the risk of reducing and eliminating our freedom. And make no doubt about it, we have done so, folks. We have attacked individual freedom in the name of safety. And this is the same thing. Do we militarize our police simply because, on occasion, the police might be outgunned? Well, at what point do you say we're going to arm our police department so they're never outgunned? How do we get to that point? At what point do we say, no, they have enough? Now, how often do you see criminals in full body armor like those two out in L.A. a few years ago? Well, that's about the only time I've ever seen it. It's ever been in the news. So do we equip all our police departments and every police officer with the equivalent body armor and firepower just to take on this rare opportunity? No, I don't think so. Because the consequences of doing such a thing far outweigh the rarity of something like that happening. I'm just looking at it from a free society point of view. Now, if you want to change the society in the Constitution and move away from a free society, then you have that discussion. And then you change your policing. But until then, if you have a free society cannot have the military roaming the streets. There's a reason why it was separated. There's a reason why the founders did put in certain provisions in the Constitution that kept civilians and military apart to a certain degree. There's a reason why our military cannot be patrolling our streets unless it's an extreme emergency. And then it's not the regular military. It's usually just the National Guard. And how many times have we had issues by calling up the National Guard, the National Guard becoming policemen and doing the wrong thing? Kent State, anybody? Because they're trained for war, not for policing. And there's a difference, believe it or not. We may call, what's the crime on our streets war, but it's not war. There's a difference. So do we really want those who are fully trained and equipped for war on our streets who are really facing off against people who know nothing about war? I mean, that's very dangerous, folks. In my book, it's dangerous. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. But I'm telling you from a logical standpoint and looking at the history of policing and the history of militaries and in the recent history of dictatorial regimes all across the world, Venezuela, anyone? Right now? It's a bad idea to turn our local police departments into departments of the military. It's a bad idea. And I know, I have a few cop friends who agree with me. Most of my friends who are cops disagree with me on this. Some of them agree. Look, I don't have a problem with all cops being loaded up with a .44 like Dirty Harry. I mean, that's fine. But you start giving them armored vehicles and all this other kind of military stuff, that's a problem. And we could utilize, the excuse, well, it's going to save lives, innocent lives. Well, maybe not. Because then you start getting stuff where they have to, for instance, the Bearcat in Keene, New Hampshire. Every time that there's some sort of public event, they got to justify having the expense of this thing. They got to justify it. And this is the truth with anything. I mean, when it comes to the public paying for stuff, through tax dollars, then those who are spending that money have to justify having it and keeping it. Now, Keene doesn't have a SWAT team, as we know SWATs, thankfully. But can you imagine if that's 23,000 people? If they did, how would they justify paying for that? Well, they'd have to use those guys more often than they should be used. I mean, it's just the way our police departments are already moving towards a military style of policing. They really are. I mean, and part of it, and it's not a problem in my book because they're well-trained people, but part of the issue is that you have a lot of military personnel who leave the military active duty, and they're still young enough. And police departments actually actively recruit these people. Why? Because they're very well disciplined. That's not my issue. I want my cops to, patrolling my street to be very well, because most of the time when we have these issues that become blown up, cops shooting people for no reason, most of the time the vast majority of the police officer involved are not former military. So I want our cops to be very well trained and very well disciplined. They need to be. They have to be. It's a difficult job. And we should try to find ways of making it easier for them, sure, but not at the risk of making every single citizen in the country a subject and not a citizen. And when you have military patrolling your streets, you're no longer citizens, you're subjects. So we have a delicate balance, a fine line that we have to define here. As a society, do we want to define it by giving them military carte blanche, or should we say we need to stop the line here? I mean, just because we develop, anything, just because we develop a tool or a piece of equipment doesn't mean that we should unleash that tool or equipment. I mean, look, you got Dubai over there, you got the UAE over there, but that by 2025 or 2030, they want to have 25% of their police force be artificial intelligent robots. Do we want that? Do you want robots being your policemen? I mean, just because we can do it, should we? I mean, we've had a couple of TV shows in this country about, robot cops. Is that a good idea? We're not too far from that, folks. You got to remember, we are in the year of our Lord 2017. We have made leaps and bounds in this century alone, this new century over the past 17 years, as far as robotics and our artificial intelligence is concerned, that within the next 17 years, by 2035, we will have the ability to have artificial intelligence robots who look a lot like humans on the streets. Do we want them? Do we want that? Is there any line that, when it comes to equipment, quote unquote, that we're not willing to put a limit on? I'm saying I have a limit. And that limit is justifiable as far as the founders are concerned in the Constitution. Now, no, we can't be England where half the so-called bobbies aren't even armed. I mean, that's just dumb. Our police officers need to be armed, but how well armed must they be? Do they need full body armor and military-style weapons? Do they need? What are we going to do? Are we going to give them little, little cannons too? Are we going to mount? Hey, we're getting into the area of drones. Are we going to start mounting, anti-drone or anti-aircraft guns on cruisers or Bearcats that we give the police so they can take out drones? I mean, is that their job? I think that's probably where we got to start. We have to define and redefine what policing is. And I think once we decide what policing is in our new modern society as we move forward, then we have answers to the types of equipment that they need. I mean, plain and simple. Has policing changed? Yes, it has changed. Has it changed for the way that most people in our society want it? I don't know. I don't think we've ever really had that discussion. It's just been foisted upon us. We've never really had to discuss how do we want to define policing going forward? Do we want it militarized? And if we're going to have it militarized, should the whole process of finding people who become cops change then? Do we change the age? I mean, I still believe that unless you are militarily trained, you should be at least 25 before you're given a gun and badge and put out in the street. I mean, you want to talk about, being able, do you realize that you can be a cop, have a gun and a badge, and still not be able to buy a cigarette or an alcoholic beverage? Think about that for a second. And these kids are not militarily trained either. They've just gone to the police academy. Is that enough? Evidently, looking at the problems that we've had with these so-called, free thought shootings, it's not enough. Police academy training is not enough anymore. So I think what it is that we need to have a discussion as a society of what we want policing to look like and be. And once we decide that, we're going to need to decide who is going to be the cop and how that cop is going to become a cop and how old that cop must be. I don't think we've had any of that discussion, and what we've done instead is just look. I mean, yes, it's rare that you have a bad cop, but let's be honest here. Do you want that bad cop to have access to full military equipment? I don't.
Yes, love hurts. It can hurt emotionally, but more important, it can also hurt you physically. It can hurt you in a way which nobody who owns a hot tub and lives in California can afford to be unaware of. Yes, I'm talking about California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. This painful, incurable disease can make an enjoyable soak in a hot tub with family, friends, and dog into a literally unforgettable experience. If you catch California hot tub rectal gonorrhea, not only will you walk around feeling like you're about to pass a twisted sardine can lid, you'll also smell like a pile of burning tractor tires. So don't jump out of the frying pan and into the hot tub, because if you get California hot tub rectal gonorrhea, it'll really burn your ass.
This has been a public service message brought to you by the Citizens Against CHTRG Foundation. California hot tub rectal gonorrhea. We're not going to take it sitting down.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
One of the main reason why policing in any society that isn't dictatorial works is simply because you have the overwhelming vast majority of people who respect law and order and the authority of those that we've given the authority to uphold that law and order. But we've also seen in societies where they push that authority beyond what the vast majority of the public wants. Now, see, when it comes to policing, you're only able to police people who allow themselves to be policed. You can only have authority over those people who allow themselves to have authority over them. That's how you have revolutions and civil wars, is when you have enough people that say, oh, hell no. That's how the American Revolution was born. You had a governmental authority saying, this is what we're going to do. We're going to tax you this way. You're going to do this, this, and this. And then people said, well, enough is enough. No, we're not. We no longer respect you. And to think that cannot happen in a modern day society, all we can do is look around the world and see it's already happening. So it can happen here if we push it to the limit without including the vast majority of people and how they want to be governed and policed. No, but we haven't been asking that question. We've just been, we've had politicians and policing experts who just said, well, we're going to start doing this and this and this and this and this. And people are, what? Are you kidding me? We haven't talked about this. We haven't decided this. We haven't voted on this. We haven't given approval to this. And yet, there's only so much that people are going to put up with. Look, I understand that we've probably, because of the way our society is now ordered, in the type of entertainment. Look, I believe honestly that TV shows are also propaganda. They are. And they're propaganda in a certain way that, let me give you an example. We have, what's big now? Superhero TV shows and movies. Well, in reality, what we're telling people is if you have special abilities or special training or special powers, you can break the law and Batman, for crying out loud. Batman's probably the biggest lawbreaker that we have. Correct? Honestly speaking, when it comes down to the law, is Batman a law enforcement person? No. I just got through watching The Defenders on Netflix. They blew up a building. Now, anybody else, they'd be called a terrorist for doing that, but because they're quote-unquote superheroes, it's okay. We see this with cop shows, too. Cops get away on TV with stuff that there's no way in hell that they'd get away with right now in real life, but we're slowly starting to allow that kind of thing to happen. Why? Because this is what we're being inundated with. It's okay for some people to get away with breaking the law, but not everybody else. I'm just not down with it. I'm not buying that thing. But this is why we have to have that discussion as far as policing. This is why we have to decide, because all that equipment, all that science fiction stuff is becoming fact very fast.
You might be surprised to learn who has Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. Nearly 1 in 200 Americans are suffering with a debilitating pain and constant disruption of these inflammatory bowel diseases, or IBD. Chances are you know someone with IBD. For example, your neighbor or coworker. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation was created to help patients cope and to find a cure. People with IBD can't wait. Won't you help someone you know? Visit www.escapethestall.com today.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. But most people don't know they are infected. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you can still have hepatitis C, a serious liver disease that often has no symptoms. In fact, people can live with hepatitis C for decades without feeling or looking sick. But over time, hepatitis C can cause serious health problems, including liver damage, liver failure, or even liver cancer. Getting tested is the only way to know if you're infected with hepatitis C. That's why the CDC recommends everyone born from 1945 to 1965 get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments are available that can cure this disease. So talk to your doctor about getting tested. It could save your life. A message from the CDC.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? Shifting to a system based on primary care can help fix the problem. Patients with a primary care doctor live longer, healthier lives and are less likely to suffer from cancer, heart disease, or stroke. Primary care that is comprehensive and coordinated also saves money. Patients who have a primary care doctor spend 30% less on health care than patients who don't. States with a high number of primary care doctors have lower health care costs and higher quality care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
It's been called shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
The Amazon's rainforest is being cut down so fast that by 2030, 55% of it could be completely wiped out. The Earth's forests can't speak up when they need help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
There's a threat targeting America. One that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin. This dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org.
Dad, we need to talk.
Can we just enjoy the drive?
If you're not going to listen to me, who will you listen to? Jeffrey.
Marcia Gay Harden, what?
Eyes on the road, Dad.
What are you doing? What are you doing in my back seat? How did you get in here?
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain's changing. It's natural.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age and helping to reduce some of the risks to your brain.
Really? Now that's interesting.
So, you'll talk to her about this, but not me. Marcia Gay Harden? Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov. She didn't say goodbye. I mean, I would have. Visit brainhealth.gov.
Bring the rain.
Three 835-3226. You know, I realize this is this whole policing issue is very controversial, and there are a lot of opinions out there on this. And those opinions vary widely. I mean, look, you have those who are close to anarchists who believe that the cops should just, still be carrying around 38 revolvers. Or most cops should be running around with just billy clubs like in England. No. And then of course you have some that think, screw the cops, let's put the military on the street. Turn the military into cops. So you have both of those extremes, obviously. But somewhere in the middle is where, in between those 2 points is where we need to be. But do I have the answer for that? No, I don't. I don't pretend to have that. That's a complicated question that requires some complicated answers. I mean, the answers might be simplistic, but they're still complicated. You can be simple, but yet complicated at the same time. Again, it has to be a discussion that we as a society begin to have, because as stuff gets added, that look. We're now getting to the point where somebody could be a Batman. Think about this for a second. We're getting to the point where somebody who may be well-adjusted or even a nut job could pretend to be not even pretend, but actually be a superhero. We have cars that are coming online that are self-driving. You start putting artificial intelligence into those things, and you could easily, within the next 5 years, we could have. Remember Knight Rider? In the Kit, we could have a Kit within the next 5 years. We have planes and things, drones. We're going to have drones in, like Dubai wants to have 25% of their taxis to be flying drones, basically, that can carry 1 or 2 passengers, people. We're on the verge of actually somebody being able to be Batman. You think, well, that's not possible. Yeah, it is, because we have people that you can easily be, it takes a little bit of time, but you can be easily trained and disciplined like that. You don't have to be military. I mean, look, we just had the fight of the century, right? With Mayweather and McGregor. Now, imagine if you had a McGregor out there who's an MMA guy, well-trained MMA, and various other martial arts, now puts on a suit that's at least partially armored, and he has all this high-tech equipment. You got a superhero. By 2025, we could have that. It's almost here. Not to mention all the other robots that this person could have. And this stuff is getting cheap. You no longer need to be a multi-billionaire or millionaire to be able to afford this stuff. I mean, We're still probably a couple of decades away from having an Iron Man like suit, but that's also coming. And so we got to have these. We can't put these discussions off for too much longer. This stuff is really becoming a reality. How is a society with the type of governmental style that we say that we want, a constitutional government and a constitutional republic, how are we going to handle this kind of stuff? Because it becomes real easy for people to justify their actions and make them super constitutional simply because we're saying, well, we need to protect the public. Can you imagine what I mean, at this stage of the game, or do you really think you're going to have cops that are going to, and police chiefs around the country who are going to allow so-called vigilantes, superheroes to be roaming the streets? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to have I don't think they're going to get a bat signal to call in a superhero to do something that they can't do. Now you could say it's fantasy all you want to, and at one point, when superheroes were first invented and put in comic books and stuff, yeah, that was fantasy. The problem with technology is it can make fantasy become a reality in a heartbeat. Then what do you do? Do you treat them like criminals? Do you treat them like heroes? Do you treat them like terrorists? How do you treat them? Look, there are already people roaming the streets out there in certain places like Seattle. Remember Seattle? Doesn't Seattle have a bunch of superheroes out there? I mean, as far as I know, so far most of them haven't been caught in the process of a crime or anything. But do you think maybe they do? In the name of justice, isn't that what Batman does? Isn't that what all superheroes do in the name of justice? So have we had those discussions yet? The stuff is becoming reality. Remember when jetpacks were thought to be a fantasy? They're reality right now. And they're getting smaller. They're getting more efficient. They're getting more elaborate as we speak. So we're going to have a Superman well, it wouldn't be Superman. It'd be more like, in the Avengers, Falcon. We're going to have people like that flying around? Or are we going to have cops with this stuff? Think about that. Remember the movie with Will Smith, I, Robot? What if we had robots roaming the streets like that? Well, evidently, cities in part of the UAE want that. Do we? Do we want to be policed and run by robots? Just saying, we haven't had those discussions yet. And we need to. This is no longer science fiction. This is soon to be science fact. If some of that stuff isn't already science fact, and some of it is. I just see it now. You got a bunch of people running around, in about 5 or 10 years that can get their hands on cheaply on stuff and become Batman. Literally. I'm not joking on this, folks. I know some people are sitting back laughing. Rod thinks that there's going to be Batman. We're almost there. We're almost there. Think about it, folks. Think about it. We can no longer look at things in the realm and view things from the realm of the past and have that be accurate for our future, because this is the whole term, Brave New World. It's exciting and it's scary at the same time. But I don't know. If you had a bunch of so-called superheroes running around and they blew up a building and brought it down, what's the first thing most people today would think? Oh, yeah, fry them. Hang them up. Right? You would think. At least the police would want to do that, and the government would want to do that. Now, in some of these movies, the government has taken control of? Well, the Avengers. Now the Avengers have got to be run by government agency, right? In the X-Men, you've got this new department, mutant affairs, that are trying to control and gather up mutants, right? Well, I don't. Maybe we're going to have a superhero department agency at some point that regulates superheroes. It may seem funny right now, but at some point, this is stuff that we're going to have to deal with. Speaking of stuff having to deal with, it looks like Bruce Jenner, I know it's Caitlyn Jenner. Well, Caitlyn Jenner is now running into some severe problems. You know, once she was hailed as being a hero to transgendered people everywhere. Now those transgendered people that she once used to be a hero for are turning against her. You're an effing fraud, is what people are calling Caitlyn Jenner now. She's ambushed by trans woman over Trump support at an LGBT event in Los Angeles. Caitlyn Jenner was ambushed by a trans woman over her support of Donald Trump. Jenner, 67, was attending the Trans Chorus of Los Angeles Saturday night when she was confronted by Ashley Marie Preston. The activist and journalist found it ridiculous that Caitlyn, a trans woman herself, allegedly continues to support Trump after he authorized banning trans people from serving in the military on Friday. You're an effing fraud and a fake, said Preston. Well, how is it you're going to be a trans person and serve in the military? I've asked this question. Nobody's ever really given the real answer on this. Now, you may call yourself a transgendered man, but you're still a woman. Your DNA is still a female. You're still not. Most of you still are not going to have the abilities as a male. Even if you're taking male hormones, you're still not going to have that ability. Your body is not the same. Your mind is not the same. Your brain is not the same as a male. It's not going to be able to perform the same. There are limits to both sexes. That's why we're so different physically and psychologically. And currently, we don't have the ability, to totally change everything like that. And hormone therapy is not going to fully change you. It's not going to change your bone structure and your internal organs and all that. It's just not going to do it. So is Caitlyn Jenner really a fake for still supporting Trump? I mean, just because you disagree on one, are you only going to, support a president or any other politician on one issue? We've had that before on both sides of the political aisle. I've never been a single issue voter. So the whole thing is important. All the issues. Now, you're never going to find somebody, if you find somebody that you agree with 100%, you better really think about it. But can you find somebody who you agree with 60, 70, 80% of the time? Probably, yeah. So is that one issue going to trump all the other issues? It shouldn't. Look, I know there's the pro-lifers out there. Look, I'm pro-life, and I know there are pro-lifers out there. That's the only thing that matters. They can agree with you on every other issue, but if you don't agree with them on pro-life, they're not going to vote for you. That's a mistake. Because then you can find that one politician that you disagree with everything else on, but they're pro-life, so I'm going to vote for it. What happens when that one issue's done and settled? Happens all too often. So because President Trump has decided, well, for the good of the military, for various reasons, we're not going to allow transgendered people to serve openly in the military. Now all of a sudden Jenner is supposed to turn against Trump? What about all the other issues that Jenner agrees with Trump on? That all now becomes secondary? I don't think so. But this is the problem with single issue people, because they're not very broad in their thought. They're not very broad on society. All they think about is in that usually that one issue that they're so adamant about really is only about them, not about society as a whole. That becomes pretty dangerous too. Just saying, folks. I mean, we can't be a nation of a bunch of one-issue politicians. No, not in a free society. That just won't work.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide, plus what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
If you're out there on the left coast, meaning, California, really, and to a lesser degree, Washington State, there really isn't much happening out in Oregon, is there? Well, Portland, Oregon, not really. It seems like it skips from California. Well, there's a big gap between Southern California and Washington, because you go through Northern California, except for San Francisco, it's definitely not like Southern California. But there's something happening out in the left coast in California. California evidently is trying to move to jail people who refuse to use transgender pronouns. I kid you not, this is from Hot Air. A bill that passed the California State Senate is now moving through the Assembly, could threaten jail time for anyone who refuses to use a transgender person's preferred pronoun. The law is current. So in other words, as many times as I have said, he's still Bruce Jenner. If I were in California, according to this law, this proposed law, I could be jailed. Because he wants to be called, first of all, he wants to be called a she, and he wants to be called Caitlin. The law is currently limited in its effects to nursing homes and intermediate care facilities, but if passed, those who willfully and repeatedly refuse to use a transgender resident's preferred name or pronouns could be slapped with a $1,000 fine and up to 1 year in jail, according to the California Health and Safety Code. The state Senate passed a bill 26-12 at the end of May. Since then, the Assembly Judiciary Committee recommended the bill unanimously, and the General Assembly held its first hearings on the legislation last week. So there goes, well, there goes your freedom of thought. You know, you don't agree with this transgenderism like I don't. You're still, you know, whatever your DNA says you are. But if I were to, it's kind of like saying that, well, you know, remember when they tried to make it illegal for Christians and Jews basically to hammer on and denounce homosexuality? Well, that's what the Bible says, right? According to Christians and Jews, that's Bible. God says, you know, it's an abomination. Now there are those who think that it's not an abomination, and there are those in Christianity and Judaism, they're more liberal, and they say it's not an abomination. They all, you know, God doesn't make any junk, so it's what have you. But there are people that are strict constructionists as far as that is concerned, and fall upon the Old Testament of the Bible and say that it is, and they try to make that a crime. And so now they're going to do this. They're going to try to do that with transgenderism. If I'm working in an institution in California, and that's where Caitlyn Jenner is, and I say, well, you're still Bruce to me, I can get fined $1,000 and put in jail for up to a year for doing that. Really? This is what we've come down to. Now we're going to force by law, which is not the same as civil rights. I mean, you want to insult black people really fast. You say that LGBT stuff is civil rights, just like civil rights of the 60s. No, it's not. And you'll be hard-pressed to find non-gay blacks who agree with you. In fact, there are a lot of gay blacks that don't agree with that. But, you know, they get passed over. They get looked over. Nobody listens to them. It doesn't matter. You don't know what you're talking about. This is. We say it is. Okay. So just saying, out there in maybe we should get some transgendered cops to enforce these kind of laws. Yes, in military gear. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. Finally today, PJ Media is reporting that the fight is on. Christian group sues the SPLC and Amazon over hate group designation. Yes. On Tuesday, D. James Kennedy Ministries filed a lawsuit against the Southern Poverty Law Center over what they claim is discrimination towards Christians, religious discrimination, and trafficking in falsehood. Now, the Southern Poverty Law Center listed the D. James Kennedy Ministries as a hate group, while GuideStar also categorized it in those terms, and Amazon kept the ministry off its charity donation program, Amazon Smile. So now Christians are saying, oh, hold on. Oh, hell no. Enough of that crap. We're not putting up with that anymore. Well, it's about damn time, to tell you the truth. You got to fight fire with fire sometimes, don't you, folks? You really do. In this kind of thing. I don't know. Right now, I can't get the view of having transgendered, militarized police on the streets. Will they be wearing high heels? Just wondering. In any case, we're out of time for today, but we're just getting the week started. We'll be back here tomorrow, folks. So don't forget to tune in about 21 hours. Until then, have a wonderful Monday morning and afternoon wherever you are. Until then, thanks for tuning in. I'm Rod Eccles. I'm out.
Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. A shameless politician always plays her cards right. Got a crew for the fight on the airwaves. Left dogs in the press, keep their mouths tight. Cause a Clinton never needs to explain what, why it is what they done or with who. A real Clinton knows that they're entitled, and you don't get to know what they do. What difference does it make? For a Clinton, what's loaded in some fat Oppo file? A Clinton plays the victim for promotion. A Clinton kills it off with a smile. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. A server full of secrets ain't no thing. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. Nothing ever hits with the sting.